Christ is risen. Christos anesti. Christos voskresce. El Mesich kom. Ha Mashiach kom. Christus resurrexit. Cristo ha resucitado. Christos anviat. Christi unial. Aristotosu fukatsu. Hidu fuhola. Christo boahashane. 3 Kings, 1 Kings in Hebrew, chapter 20 through chapter 21, verse 22. And Nabathai the Jezreelite had a vineyard near the threshing floor of Achab, king of Samaria. And Achab spoke to Nabathai, saying, Give me thy vineyard, and I will have it for a garden of herbs, for it is near my house, and I will give thee another vineyard better than it. Or if it please thee, I will give thee money, the price of this thy vineyard, and I will have it for a garden of herbs. And Nabathai said to Achab, My God forbid me, that I should give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And the spirit of Achab was troubled, and he laid down upon his bed, and covered his face, and ate no bread. And Jezebel his wife went in to him, and spoke to him, saying, Why is thy spirit troubled, and why dost thou eat no bread? And he said to her, Because I spoke to Nabathai the Jezreelite, saying, Give me thy vineyard for money, or if thou wilt, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And Jezebel his wife said to him, Dost thou thus act the king over Israel? Arise, and eat bread, and be thine own master, and I will give thee the vineyard of Nabathai the Jezreelite. And she wrote a letter in the name of Achab, and sealed it with his seal, and sent the letter to the elders, and to the freemen who dwelt with Nabathai. And it was written in the letter, saying, Keep a fast, and set Naboth in a chief place among the people. And set 2 men, sons of transgressors, before him, and let them testify against him, saying, He blessed God and the king, and let them lead him forth, and stone him, and let him die. And the men of his city, the elders, and the nobles who dwelt in his city, did as Jezebel sent to them, and as it had been written in the letters which he sent to them. And they proclaimed a fast, and set Nabathai in a chief place among the people. And 2 men, sons of transgressors, came in, and sat opposite him, and bore witness against him, saying, Thou hast blessed God and the king. And they led him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones, and he died. And they sent to Jezebel, saying, Nabathai is stoned, and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard it, that she said to Achab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Nabathai the Jezreelite, who would not sell it to thee. For Nabathai is not alive, for he is dead. And it came to pass, when Achab heard that Nabathai the Jezreelite was dead, that he rent his garments and put on sackcloth. It came to pass afterward that Achab arose and went down to the vineyard of Nabathai the Jezreelite to take possession of it. And the Lord spoke to Eliab the Thesbite, saying, Arise, and go down to meet Achab king of Israel, who is in Samaria. For he is in the vineyard of Nabathai, for he has gone down thither to take possession of it. And thou shalt speak to him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, For as much as thou hast slain and taken possession, therefore thus saith the Lord, In every place where the swine and the dogs have licked the blood of Nabathai, there shall the dogs lick thy blood, and the harlots shall wash themselves in thy blood. And Achab said to Eliab, Hast thou found me, mine enemy? And he said, I have found thee, because thou hast wickedly sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Behold, I bring evil upon thee, and I will kindle a fire after thee, and I will utterly destroy every male of Achab, and him that is shut up, and him that is left in Israel. And I will make thy houses as the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and as the house of Baasa, son of Achiah, because of the provocations wherewith thou hast provoked me, and caused Israel to sin. And the Lord spoke of Jezebel, saying, The dog shall devour her within the fortification of Jezreel. Him that is dead of Achab in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that is dead of him in the field shall the birds of the sky eat. But Achab did wickedly, in that he sold himself to do that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his wife Jezebel led him astray. And he did very abominably in following after the abominations, according to all that the Amorite did, whom the Lord utterly destroyed from before the children of Israel. Because of the word, Achab was pierced with sorrow before the Lord, and he both went weeping, and rent his garment, and girt sackcloth upon his body, and fasted. He put on sackcloth also in the day that he smote Nabathai the Jezreelite, and went his way. And the word of the Lord came by the hand of his servant Eliab concerning Achab. And the Lord said, Hast thou seen how Achab has been pricked to the heart before me? I will not bring on the evil in his days, but in his son's days I will bring on the evil. And the son of Ader gathered all his forces, and went up and besieged Samaria, he and 32 kings with him, and all his horse and chariots. And they went up and besieged Samaria, and fought against it. And he sent into the city of Achab king of Israel, and said, Thus says the son of Ader, Thy silver and thy gold are mine, and thy wives and thy children are mine. And the king of Israel answered and said, As thou hast said, my lord, O king, I am thine, and all mine also. And the messengers came again, and said, Thus says the son of Ader, I send to thee, saying, Thou shalt give me thy silver and thy gold, and thy wives and thy children. For this time tomorrow I will send my servants to thee, and they shall search thy house and the houses of thy servants. And it shall be that all the desirable objects of their eyes, on which they shall lay their hands, they shall even take them. And the king of Israel called all the elders of the land, and said, Take notice now, and consider that this man seeks mischief, for he has sent to me concerning my wives, and concerning my sons, and concerning my daughters. I have not kept back from him my silver and my gold. And the elders and all the people said to him, Hearken not, and consent not. And he said to the messengers of the son of Ader, Say to your master, All things that thou hast sent to thy servant about at first I will do, but this thing I shall not be able to do. And the men departed, and carried back the answer to him. And the son of Ader sent to him, saying, So do God to me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for foxes to all the people, even my infantry. And the king of Israel answered and said, Let it be sufficient, let not the humpbacked boast as he that is upright. And it came to pass, when he returned him this answer, he and all the kings with him were drinking in tents, and they said to his servants, Form a trench. And they made a trench against the city. And behold, a prophet came to Achab, king of Israel, and said, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou seen this great multitude? Behold, I give it this day into thine hands, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. And Achab said, Whereby? And he said, Thus saith the Lord, By the young men of the heads of the districts. And Achab said, Who shall begin the battle? And he said, Thou. And Achab numbered the young men, the heads of the districts, and they were 230. And afterwards he numbered the people, even every man fit for war, 7,000. And he went forth at noon, and the son of Ader was drinking and getting drunk in Succoth, he and the kings, even 32 kings, his allies. And the young men, the heads of the districts, went forth first, and they sent and report to the king of Syria, saying, There are men come forth out of Samaria. And he said to them, If they come forth peaceably, take them alive. And if they come forth to war, take them alive. And let not the young men of the heads of the districts go forth of the city. And the force that was behind them smote each one the man next to him, and each one a second time smote the man next to him. And Syria fled, and Israel pursued them. And the son of Ader, even the king of Syria, escapes on the horse of a horseman. And the king of Israel went forth, and took all the horses and the chariots, and smote the enemy with a great slaughter in Syria. And the prophet came to the king of Israel, and said, Strengthen thyself, and observe, and see what thou shalt do. For at the return of the year the son of Ader, king of Syria, comes up against thee. Psalm 104, 105 in Hebrew, verses 16 through 27. Moreover, he calls for a famine upon the land. He broke the whole support of bread. He sent a man before them. Joseph was sold for a slave. They hurt his feet with fetters. His soul passed into iron, until the time that his cause came on. The word of the Lord tried him as fire. The king sent and loosed him, even the prince of the people, and let him go free. He made him lord over his house, and ruler of all his substance, to chastise his rulers at his pleasure, and to teach his elders wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Cam. And he increased this people greatly, and made them stronger than their enemies. And he turned their heart to hate his people, to deal craftily with his servants. And he sent forth Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. He established among them his signs, and his wonders in the land of Cam. Proverbs chapter 22, verses 19 through 23. That thy hope may be in the Lord, and he may make thy way known to thee. And do thou too repeatedly record them for thyself on the table of thine heart, for counsel and knowledge. I therefore teach thee truth and knowledge good to hear, that thou mayest answer words of truth to them that question thee. Do no violence to the poor, for he is needy, neither dishonor the helpless man in the gates. For the Lord will plead his cause, and thou shalt deliver thy soul in safety. The Holy Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 23, verses 1 through 25. And the whole multitude of them arose, and led him unto Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this fellow perverting the nation, and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered him and said, Thou sayest it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to this place. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked whether the men were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged unto Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself also was at Jerusalem at that time. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceeding glad, for he was desirous to see him of a long season, because he had heard many things of him, and he hoped to have seen some miracle done by him. Then he questioned with him in many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod, with his men of war, set him at naught, and mocked him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. And the same day Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before they were at enmity between themselves. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests and the rulers and the people, said unto them, Ye have brought this man unto me, as one that perverteth the people. And behold, I, having examined him before you, have found no fault in this man, touching those things whereof ye accuse him. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him, and lo, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him, and release him. For of necessity he must release one unto them at the feast. And they cried out all at once, saying, Away with this man, and release unto us Barabbas, who for a certain sedition made in the city, and for murder was cast into prison. Pilate therefore, willing to release Jesus, spake again to them. But they cried, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. And he said unto them the third time, Why? What evil hath he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him, and let him go. And they were instant with loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified. And the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired, but he delivered Jesus to their will.